Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Friday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. I'm Paul Dottino, he's Matt Citak. And if you didn't know it, the Giants are playing the Philadelphia Eagles down at the Link on Sunday with a chance to sweep the season series for the first time since 2007. Yeah, that was a Super Bowl season with Eli Manning at quarterback for New York.
And win in Philadelphia overall just for the first time since 2013.
Giants actually have lost 12 in a row in Philadelphia.
It's been a while.
And that includes the 2022 playoff game. Not good. It has been a house of horrors. You've heard me talk about the house of voodoo, that is the New Orleans Superdome. Well, the Link has been a house of horrors for the Giants. Quite honestly, some of those losses have been just as excruciating as what we have seen this year to Dallas and to New Orleans, where they have come right down to the wire. Giants have lost there in overtime. They have lost there on last-second field goals. They have lost there on final touchdown drives in the last minute of the game. It's been a encyclopedia of nasty defeats in that building. And we will see what happens this week. We did get some news earlier today, Matt, in terms of the Giants going out to practice. Brian Daboll said everyone was going to try to go out and practice, but as it stood during the media portion, Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland were not out there during the open part of practice. So I think you can kind of make a logical assessment that their arrow is down on them, but it still remains to be seen. Good news, though, as Brian Burns and Darius Slayton, Graham Gano, these guys all appear as though they're going to be on the upswing.
Yeah, so we'll start, I guess, with the not great news in that Adebo and Holland, Coach did say not practicing today, along with Chauncey Golston. He did not rule them out. He said that, they're going to make a decision or see where they're at after practice and then make a decision. So I guess there's still a small chance, but the fact that they have been DNP all week doesn't leave me feeling too confident that, especially Adebo and Holland, that they will be out there, unfortunately.
Golston was on the side with the trainers this morning. To make that clear.
So that could mean, it's looking like another extended opportunity for Dane Belton and Deonte Banks. We'll see how they do. Hopefully a little better with a full week of practice and practice reps leading into this extended action, unlike last week when they were kind of thrown in because both of the Adebo and Holland suffered knee injuries. For the good news, Brian Burns, as Paul mentioned, and as Coach mentioned before, Brian Burns is out there practicing right now. He told the media on Wednesday, his exact words were, "I'm good," when asked, is he going to be able to suit up this weekend? We saw last year, there were plenty of times where Burns did not practice Wednesday, Thursday, got in a limited session Friday, was good to go come Sunday. Seems like he is on track for that. Obviously, we'll see on the final injury report. I have a feeling he'll probably be listed as questionable, but I would put him on the more optimistic side of questionable. While the other two, we'll see what they're listed as, but I feel like they're definitely on the more pessimistic side of things for Sunday. Darius Slayton, Coach said, has had 2 good days of practice. This was obviously before today's practice, and said hopefully he'll be ready to roll. So signs are, it's pointing up for Darius Slayton to make his return. And yeah, as you mentioned, Paul, looks like Graham Gano will be good to go as well. He's gone through the last 2 practices unscathed. All is looking good. We'll see what they decide to do in terms of just the overall kicker situation. Coach did not completely slam the door on the idea of potentially having 2 kickers on the game day roster. We'll see. I mean, that obviously would take away from the depth at other positions, and considering the secondary might be down 2 of the starters, I don't know if the Giants will be able to afford having 2 kickers on the game day roster.
Yeah.
But, we'll see how practice goes today, and we'll see how the final injury report, what everyone's listed on, is there.
Yeah, I think it would be very tough to have 2 kickers activated, but I do understand people's concern.
Yeah.
Obviously, Graham Gano now, over the last 2 years, has twice come up with an injury right before the game.
Yep.
So I do get it. In the meantime, we are coming to you from the Giants podcast studio presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. keep getting better. Our number is 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. You can also get us on hashtag Giants Chat or on the YouTube. We are streaming still on YouTube.
We are streaming
Sometimes
YouTube,
I know there are technical issues, and you never know. But you can go to Giants.com and also the YouTube channel, and we are there. And you can also fire up a couple of things on the chat. And I know Matt will monitor that and see if we can get to something there. Go ahead.
There also just was, I saw one injury update from Philadelphia, and that was just Nick Sirianni speaking to the media and was basically asked, A.J. Brown has not practiced Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah. We don't have the injury report yet. The Eagles won't release theirs for another few hours. But Sirianni was asked about A.J. Brown's status for Sunday, and he was non-committal to him playing. He did mention A.J. Brown is one of those players that could go DNP all week and still suit up and play on Sunday. But, he would not go as far as to say, yes, A.J. Brown will be out there on Sunday. So just something to keep an eye on. Obviously,
he's got a hamstring, right?
Yeah. That would be obviously a big blow to the Eagles' passing game. As good as Devontae Smith is, having the two of them out there is what really, makes that such a lethal threat, at least. Obviously, the passing game in Philadelphia has not been firing on all cylinders all season, but they seemed to get on track last week. The two of those two wideouts combined for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it would certainly be a blow to the Eagles' offense if A.J. Brown is unable to suit up.
I kind of asked a rhetorical question there because a guy who's got a hamstring injury who has not practiced at all, unlike Slayton, who's been limited and has been able to go out there and run routes and take reps, Brown hasn't done that all week. The odds of him just trying to fire it up on game day with a hamstring, which gets aggravated very easily and then could wind up pushing him out for over a month, that's the way those things go. To me, that's risky business. I can't see him playing.
We'll see if he gets on the practice field today. If he gets out there today and he's listed as limited, I think there's a good chance he suits up.
I'd say sure.
If he's
that would make a difference.
If he's another DNP, especially because Philadelphia goes into their bye week after this game, sitting him this weekend with the bye would give him a couple of weeks to rest that hamstring. Mm-hmm. That could be something the Eagles choose to do. However, he did play the whole game this past Sunday. It was a little surprising to see him pop up on the injury report with this injury when he played the game and, appeared to come out unscathed from the game. But clearly it's not a non-issue because he has not yet taken the practice field. So keep an eye out on the Eagles injury report. We'll have it up on Giants.com as soon as we get it in a couple of hours. So just keep an eye out for that.
It was not only he, but also Devontae Smith, who both had huge games last week, and they win over the Vikings 28-22. Hurts threw for over 350 yards, and both of those guys lit up the Vikings.
Hurts had a perfect passer rating, 158.3. Only
three touchdowns.
Yeah, only the third time in Eagles history that a quarterback has had a perfect passer rating. And now he didn't do anything on the ground.
No.
And that is something we've seen kind of in the last few weeks from Jalen Hurts, or have not seen, which is him using his legs, which is surprising because that's obviously been a very big part of his game. The Eagles offense the last couple of seasons was a huge part of their Super Bowl run last year. Mm-hmm. He is still doing the tush push, of course. Anytime they get to a, goal line situation or 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 2nd and 1, it is Jalen Hurts doing the tush push and almost always picking it up. But outside of that, we're not seeing design runs from Hurts. We're not seeing him really scramble out of the pocket, tuck the ball in and rush upfield. Another thing to keep an eye on. The Eagles' run game has really struggled. Some of it is because of the health of the offensive line, I think. But I feel like him not really being too much of a threat on the ground has led to some of the struggles from Saquon Barkley. Because as we all know, when you have a dual threat rushing quarterback, that opens lanes and makes things a lot easier for your running back to find some open space.
Yeah, you mentioned the line. Juergens has been down all week with a knee. He's their starting center, and that's a big deal.
And Landon Dickerson has been playing through an injury. He did return last week. He missed week 6, the last game against the Giants, but he returned last week. He's been limited. He'll be out there, Dickerson, but
he's banged up.
He's playing through an injury for sure.
I think it's an ankle and a knee with him.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting situation. I do want to refer you to the game a couple of weeks ago. Giants whacking the Eagles 34-17 here at MetLife Stadium. A game in which the Giants really had complete control and dominated in the second half as they pulled away and basically just laid the wood on Philadelphia. Now, this is a different story. You got a wounded Eagles team that's obviously going to be very angry and looking to give a little payback. You've got Saquon Barkley, who had 31 yards on the first 2 snaps of the game for the Eagles and then finished with only like 50-something yards all night. So the Giants did a phenomenal job of containing him. Can they do that a second time? Barkley's only run for over 60 yards once this year. He is, he's been listed with a sore knee numerous times this season. And honestly, the line has had a big impact on him because they're not giving him the room that he needs to run. We've seen that with the Giants many times before. He is partly a product of having some room. What running back isn't? So it remains to be seen exactly what the Giants will get out of Philadelphia. We know that Jalen Carter is going to play. He played against the Vikes last week, had a couple of quarterback hits, 3 tackles. He was not in the game at MetLife Stadium, and Scadaboo ran 19 times for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Matt, as much as I love Cam Scadaboo, his life was a little bit easier without Carter in the lineup.
Oh, 100%. And not to mention, Quinyon Mitchell left that game early and did not come back. And obviously, that's a cornerback, but that just helped open things up for the entire Giants offense.
They picked on Adoree Jackson.
Yeah. Who, speaking of, has also been on the injury report, has not
concussion
practiced
protocol
this week. Do actually, right on cue, have an update for the 3rd straight day. A.J. Brown is not practicing.
I don't think that looks good for Philadelphia.
It certainly puts him on the wrong side of questionable. I mean, Sirianni, again, did say he could still suit up without practicing, but this certainly puts him on, the more pessimistic side of being able to go on Sunday.
All right, before we get to your calls, because, folks, I want to give you guys a chance to chime in on this one as soon as possible. Just want to mention one item here. Because Coach Dable was asked, if you don't have a Debo, we know that Belton is going to be the guy who has to come in at safety to start. We understand that. That's pretty much a fait accompli. But if a Debo's not there, neither the defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, nor Brian Dable would reveal what their plans would be. Now, one of the things you have to consider is that a Debo does sometimes travel. If Brown's not going to play for Philadelphia, I don't think you need to travel anybody.
I mean, I would consider having Flott travel with Devontae Smith, at least when he's on the outside. In the slot, which he has lined up in the slot a good amount this year.
I'd let Phillips have him.
You let Phillips have him. Obviously, Phillips is going to need to step up in that situation.
Yes.
He's had his ups and downs, but
yes.
Devontae Smith is an incredibly talented receiver,
no
as
doubt.
we were talking about before. But when Devontae Smith is on the outside, if there's no A.J. Brown, even if there is A.J. Brown out there, Cordell Flott, his physical structure, makes him a much better matchup to guard Devontae Smith than A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is a big physical guy and has, 40 pounds on Cordell Flott?
That's why a Debo would travel with Brown the whole game.
For sure.
And Flott would probably have to travel. Obviously, he would have to travel with Smith unless he's in slot. If this happens, though, and Brown doesn't play, I don't know that I would travel Flott on Smith the whole game. I don't know that I would do that. I think like what you said, if he goes in slot, I'd let Phillips take him. I would not travel Flott in the slot with Smith.
I mean, I agree, but I will say just the only counterpoint is obviously Flott does have a ton of experience playing in the slot. This year
didn't work out so well.
This year he's been on the outside for sure.
That's not his forte.
No, 100%. But again, Phillips has had his own fair share of ups and downs this season.
I know.
But certainly when he's on the outside, Devontae Smith, I'm having Flott play him every single snap on the outside, without a doubt. If A.J. Brown's not out there, without a doubt.
I have no problem with that. In addition, the Giants, obviously, with Tay Banks, who, according to Coach, has had a good week of practice. There was a thought thrown out yesterday to Shane Bowen about Art Green, who, you know what? When he made this team, he showed that he could play some pretty solid corner during the preseason. So I don't know if he turns out to be an option or not, but that's something to keep an eye on if Banks gets off to a sluggish start and makes a couple of mistakes early. All right, folks, just remember, if you're not catching the show live, our entire podcast network is available on the Giants mobile app, podcast platforms everywhere, and at giants.com/podcasts. Don't forget, there are still season tickets available for the remainder of the Giants 2025 season. You get exclusive access to membership benefits, not just during the year or during the season itself, but all year round. Just go to giants.com/tickets. And finally, I do want to make sure that we mention this because it's the last chance you're going to have. The Giants Foundation will host a 5K race and kids run presented by Quest on Sunday. That's coming up at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants receive a commemorative T-shirt after the race. Stay for a post-race festival and appearances by Giants legends. And I believe Tiki Barber and Jonathan Casillas, if I'm not mistaken, have verbally suggested that they would be there. You'll also hear from a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And of course, the Giants TV mobile app is available wherever you download your videos, all kinds of stuff. It's free. It's there on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. That will do it for the promos. Now the rest of the show is all about you folks as the Giants try to sweep the Philadelphia Eagles. And we go to Marcus in California. You are first on the program. Hello.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Good, man. Still, mid-season, still have faith in the team, so let's go beat the Eagles. Say that off the bat. At first I was all about going after a wide receiver to help Dart's development, but after the last, since he started, I think we should just extend Flott and Illuminor and, build around next year and just ride the season out. And then also, I don't think that we all understood how bad the Micah McFadden's injury was going to hurt us on defense this year. So I hope he comes back quick. And that's pretty much it. Just thanks to you guys, and let's go beat the Eagles.
Well, thanks very much for the call, Marcus.
Thank you for the call.
Last week's loss in Denver was devastating with a capital D. I don't think I'm understating that at all. But should the Giants come back and beat Philly at the Link and complete a season sweep, it would lessen some of the pain.
It's not going to make up for it.
It won't make up for it, but it will lessen it.
It'll help all of us push last week's game a little bit further back in our memory, for sure. I mean, I was going to say, obviously, I love coming on this podcast with you, with John. I was pretty happy this week that I didn't have to come on until Friday because it gave me a couple of extra days to sort of get last week's game at least a little bit further removed from the top of my mind because, I mean, you hit it. That was the roughest game in recent memory for me. I mean, this is my 7th season. It's definitely the most, heartbreaking loss that I've witnessed as an employee of the Giants. I mean, that game ended and I sat at my desk with my head on my desk in disbelief for like 5 full minutes, just trying to digest what just happened. So, yeah, a win on Sunday, not gonna, make us just like pretend last week didn't happen, but certainly will help us get over it a little bit further and, flip the page and just focus on the rest of the season. We can't change what's done, not making up or not trying to make any sort of excuses or anything about what happened last week, but all we can do is turn the page and focus on this week and the future.
It would be like a dish of ice cream after having been forced to gulp down an entire bottle of bad cough medicine. That's what it would be like. Folks, let's go back to the calls.
Oh, just real quick about the caller, the first comment he made about bringing in a receiver. Well, the Giants did bring in a receiver this week. They signed Ray McLeod to the practice squad. Obviously, he had not done basically anything for the Falcons this year, but just last season, he played every game for the Falcons and set career highs, 62 receptions, 686 yards. He also has a ton of experience in the return game. Mm-hmm. We'll see if he ends up making it to the active roster at some point, whether it's this Sunday, a couple weeks from now, a month from now, whatever it might be. But that is some addition to the room, without having to give up draft capital, which I think is big. I kind of agree. I mean, the Giants are 2-5. And obviously, there's still a lot of football to be played this season, 10 more games. But at some point, you have to weigh, the pros and cons of dishing out future draft capital to help you. I mean, I've been saying this for weeks now that the only way I would even consider a trade for a receiver is if it's someone that's under contract beyond this year that is going to be part of this team in 2026, maybe even beyond that.
I concur with that, by the way.
Trading for a rental, giving up draft capital for a rental receiver, that I don't see much of a point to that.
No, not at all.
So
McLeod, by the way, had a pit stop with Buffalo, which also allows the familiarity with basically what the Giants are doing offensively, and that would help acclimate him should they decide to try to bring him up to the 53.
His rookie season in 2018 was with Buffalo and with Dabes. Dabes mentioned it yesterday when talking to the media about the addition. He said, obviously, the Bills' 2018 playbook, not exactly the same as the Giants' 2025 playbook, but there is some similar, terminology, verbiage, so hopefully we'll speed up the acclimation process for McLeod.
Joe in New Jersey, you're next on the program. Hello.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you? I'm a big fan, and I usually never catch your live performance, and I feel so fortunate today, being Friday, that I'm able to do that.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for calling, Joe.
Yeah, Paul, I'm a big fan. Listen, I cannot get out of my mind, Paul, that face that you had last year versus the Dallas at the end zone. I cannot get that expression on your face when, with that. That was horrible. I just want to talk to today about the game in Denver. And I really think, honestly, now after this whole week has gone by and I'm able to, digest everything and watch the game over in highlights and hear everything, I honestly think they just burnt out at the end. I think they were out of gas, and it was a combination, of course, of the bad defensive play calling. And I really do think that they just basically gassed out. Looking forward to this week. It's as close as you can get to a home game. You're only going down the turnpike.
I don't know if I go that far.
Joe, pump the brakes, Joe. They've lost 12 straight in that building. There's nothing friendly about going to Philadelphia, okay?
And it's not one of those away game, environments where there'll be a good percentage of Giants fans.
No.
Like there'll be some sprinkled in, but that is going to be one hostile crowd on Sunday.
If I may, Joe, if you ever get a chance to go on the road for a Giants game,
don't go to Philly.
I have.
Okay, go to Tampa or Jacksonville, where there's a lot of transplanted New Yorkers and there's a lot of blue in that stadium.
I'd even say go to Washington over Philly.
Yeah, Washington's better too.
I was at the Cowboy Stadium as well, and I was happily surprised that Cowboy fans in Dallas are actually friendlier than Jersey and New York Dallas fans.
Okay. I was not in the crowd, so I can't speak to that, Joe.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and I'll let you comment on my comments. Thank you so much.
Well, it's awfully nice of you to call. Thank you.
Joe.
Be well and try to call again soon. What do you think?
I mean, it's Friday. We don't really have to go into last week's game into too much detail. I'm sure, that has been done on the show the last 4 days. Just about, the one comment Joe made, again, no excuses. The Giants should have won that game, but it did appear in the fourth quarter like the defense was just completely gassed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not trying to make an excuse, but playing in Denver with the what's it called?
The air, the atmosphere.
Yeah, the air, just the level above sea that Denver is, it makes it very tough to get oxygen, and it showed. Like the defense was completely gassed, sucking in the oxygen tank every chance they got. Again, that's not an excuse because going into Denver, it's going to be like that. It's just there's no way as an opposing team to really prepare for that. Practicing in New Jersey here, so I just agree with Joe in that part that come the fourth quarter, the defense just looked completely gassed. And, again, I don't know how you can remedy that. I mean, Denver's obviously a place you only play once, every 8 years?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not much prep you can really do.
No. I was told by some medical folks, it truly takes you a week to acclimate yourself to that atmosphere if you really wanted to do it right. Well, what team is going to spend a whole week out there?
Yeah,
no, nobody's going to do that.
But nonetheless, again, the Giants still should have won that game.
Of course. By the way, in reference to the link in Philadelphia, I will say this. Guys like Scatterboo and Dart and Abdul Carter, these guys have not been part of that 12-game road losing streak in Philly. They have not. And they're quick to remind you of that because when the Giants played Dallas earlier this year, there were a lot of people said, well, you guys don't win in Dallas very often either. And they were like, okay, but that's not on us. We weren't here. That's the same mentality they've taken this week when people have mentioned the Eagles' dominance in that city. And in fact, Jackson Dart was very emphatic about he loves to play on the road. He loves the intensity. He loves the energy. He likes to win games on the road. He doesn't mind being the villain. And when he was asked about, well, you think you have played in anything that compares, he's like, I played in the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, it's rough. And they, well, okay, what was the roughest rivalry that you... Well, let's see. Auburn, Alabama, LSU, Georgia. He just started rattling off the whole conference.
He did leave one notable team off of the list.
I know which one. Go right ahead. You tell the people because I know you have to.
He did leave Vanderbilt off the list.
Yeah.
Now, when Jackson Dart was there for Ole Miss going to Vanderbilt, that was basically a home game for Ole Miss because over half the crowd would be Ole Miss fans.
Yes.
But not this year. We're not going to get into it. We're going to wait until later in the college football season to really dive into Vandy.
But the point being that Jackson Dart, for sure, and also Cam Scatterbo was asked about it yesterday in front of his locker and said, look, it is awesome when the stadium supports the game and the teams and they give you energy and they boost it. He's like, but, you know, if you're a visiting player, fine. Let them cheer. Let them root for their team. That's fine. They want to boost their team. Let them do it. That's fine. But you got to focus on your job. Do what you have to do and not deal with that. Just go out there and play. He actually thinks it's more fun to play in a stadium that's got life.
I was going to say, the one thing that Jackson said about that I really liked was he was like, yeah, you know, pregame, obviously I'm warming up, you know, especially in the SEC. He goes, you warm up right in front of the school's student section. Mm-hmm. And obviously that is going to be, you know, the most rowdy part of the entire college football stadium. And Jackson said, like, oh yeah, I heard what they were screaming and shouting at me. I heard their disses, all the criticism and stuff, but I loved it. He's like, I just used that as extra fuel, put extra chips on my shoulder right before kickoff. And, you know, obviously those environments, as tough as going into Philly is, those SEC environments, that's just a whole nother level. So I do think Jackson is very, very prepared for the hostile crowd that he's about to go face. And I hope those fans in Philadelphia start shouting as soon as he takes the field for warmups. Please start shouting things at Jackson because that's just going to fire him up even more.
I'll just remind you folks of this. Parcells' teams, they loved playing in Philadelphia. They thought it was hysterical. The stuff that they would hear, stuff that would get thrown at them, they thought it was funny because Parcells knew how to beat them, and so did that team.
I was going to say, it used to be a lot more fun to go down to Philadelphia than the last decade plus.
Coughlin's teams were the same way. Coughlin's teams won down there. That was not a rare Giants win in Philly when Coughlin was the coach, and we all know what Shockey and Burris and Barber used to do to them. You know, so look, if Jackson Dart wants to take that approach, maybe that will work for him and rub off on the rest of the team, and maybe they'll go down there and stick it to them. We'll see.
Yeah, and I don't think Cam Scatterbo needs any extra motivation or anything else to get him fired up. He seems pretty fired up every game day.
The man grew up running into telephone poles. You think a Philadelphia crowd could be tougher than a telephone pole?
The guy's fired up, not even on game days. I mean, we see him playing ping pong in the locker room during the week, and he treats it as if he's out there on a Sunday on the field, like screaming after every point, smashing as every chance he gets to slam a shot in ping pong, Cam Scatterbo does. And he's screaming after every point. It's absolutely hilarious, but it's what you'd expect from him.
He could be his own television series, his own reality series. He would be a blast. All right, let's go back to the phones. Coach Marvin in Delaware, you are next on the program. Hello, Coach.
How you doing, Paul and Matt?
What's up, Coach?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm down here in Philly land in Delaware, but
I know
the fans are not playing, so I'm not worried about them. You know, but it's going to be a tough game for them because Philly going to make adjustments, and usually the team that wins, they pretty much go in with the same game plan majority of the time. So we'll just have to see how that game turns out. But I didn't get a chance. I haven't called in a few days. So about last week. Last week game was actually the good, the bad, and ugly all at once. It was everybody's fault. I don't know if anybody got a chance to hear Carl Banks on Monday, and he hit it right on the nose. It was everybody's fault.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about, he said something that resonated with me when he said every time the defense got on the field, they had the lead.
Yes.
That was telling.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a caller talking about them fatigue. And I said, and it's a long saying, fatigue will kill us all. And what happened, they was physically and mentally fatigued. They made some mistakes. Banks lost his leverage on the run by Knicks, was brutal. I think they line up, they shifted to the left, I believe, one time, and left like three guys to the right, and they changed the play in the direction to go the right side. That's why Nick didn't get anybody touch him when he ran for a touchdown. So those were
Dane Belton also got blocked in the back, but somehow there was no penalty on that play either.
Yeah, but I mean, we fought back. It's not one play that really hurt us or helped us, but they fought back. They showed a lot of heart, and that's what I kind of took away from the game. But the one thing I took that no one has talked about, and we always talked about chasing points.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many points we chased? I added it up. It was 8 points we lost. It was we missed 2 PATs. We missed a 2-point conversion, and they made 2 2-point conversions. That's 8 points. And one of those 2 was very easy. You hit the receiver in the back of the end zone. Those conversions was brutal for us in this game. So hopefully we have learned from those, and we'll do better as far as coaching and guys being out there giving it their all. And you can't be fatigued. So that's pretty much what I had. But I wanted to just say thank a couple of guys real quick. It's only about 30 seconds here. Is Ron Kinslow and Tony Thornton. They're referees here in Delaware. They give me access to their games, so I get to see their games, the best games in the state. And they gave me one tonight. I'll be at one tonight. And the director here in Delaware is a guy by the name of Dave Baylor. This guy unbelievably gave me passes for every game in the state. And I have access to some of these kids, which is amazing for them to do for me. So I wanted to thank them on the show.
Coach Marvin, you're turning into the Phil Rizzuto of Delaware.
I showed them the picture of you, Paul, so that gives me some credibility.
Oh, wow. All right. I love it. Coach, be well, okay?
I have done that. I'm not lying about that. I have showed them your picture, told them that I do speak to you, and I speak on the show. So, I thank all of you guys, Matt, John. Hopefully John's doing good. And Pearson in the background is excellent guy. Excellent guy. So I thank all of you guys.
Appreciate your support, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
201-939-4513. We go to TJ in Arizona. You are next on the program. Hello.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm okay, my man. How are you doing?
Good. I've been watching the Giants when I lived my days with my father on Long Island, the Homer Jones and Fran Tarkenton days.
I understand.
I have a question. Why aren't they using Gunner like they do Wandale in the slot? Because to me, he seems like he'd be a pest like Elliman and Welker were with the Patriots. Is there any chance of them starting to use him instead of just on punt returns?
It was always one of the options that we have discussed on this program since the season started. Like, okay, if this doesn't work or somebody gets hurt, what can you do with Gunnar Olszewski? Because he had an incredible training camp when he got called back, okay, due to the injury to Ford Wheaton, he just like grabbed that roster spot by the throat and said, I'm not letting go, and was spectacular throughout the month of August. And I think it's fair to say that those of us who watched him started to contemplate, well, what if maybe he was a little bit a part of the offense? For whatever reason, they've decided not to go there.
Yeah, he has played only 3 snaps on offense all season. And, considering obviously the Giants have had some injuries at wide receiver, starting to get a little healthier, again, with Slayton looking like he's got a good chance to go on Sunday. I don't know if now is when they're going to try putting Gunnar out at wide receiver. I think it might take an injury to Wan'Dale Robinson, which obviously we hope does not happen, but it might take something like that to happen for them to really give him an extended look in the slot, because Wan'Dale has been having so much success. I mean, now Wan'Dale has lined up a good amount outside as well.
Yes.
Coach Dable mentioned this earlier in the week, that they've really lined him up all over the field, and he's really done well no matter where they've lined him up. But the fact that, given all the injuries that the Giants have had at the position, Gunnar has still only played 3 snaps at wide receiver, or 3 snaps at all on offense, for whatever reason, it makes me think that they don't think that is, the best strategy. Again, that could change. We see things change all the time, but for now, it doesn't seem like it's too likely.
Now, TJ, I would add one other caveat here. Remember, when we talked about during the offseason, would Hyatt step up and be a significant part of that rotation? And if he did not, what options would the Giants have? And my favorite option, which anything about me at all, I will always go heavy double tight end package. Well, as it's turned out, not only when Neighbors went down with the injury and Hyatt hasn't truly stepped up his game significantly, and then Slayton went and got hurt. Well, actually, even before Slayton got hurt in New Orleans, the Giants decided to go with a heavy package and use a lot of double tight ends. That's always been, in my opinion, a very palatable option when you're down a wide receiver, because I think the Giants have 2 tight ends who I like their skill set and I like what they provide. They seem to have, as a coaching staff, for the most part, gone in that direction. That seems to be their favored direction over the past month. They don't stick with it throughout the course of the game for 4 quarters, but they do seem to have a propensity to go double tight ends rather than just coming out with another wide receiver, which Olszewski would certainly be one of those options.
Yeah, I mean, Theo obviously is the starting tight end. He's had a significant role on offense all season, but it's really Daniel Bellinger over the last few weeks that has seen his snaps really increase. This past week obviously was, I would say, the most successful day for the 2 tight ends together. Bellinger played 67.5% of the snaps. He played 52 offensive snaps, and Theo obviously played 68. Now, they had success against the Broncos with the 2 tight ends. They had success against the Saints. They did not have much success against the Eagles. Against the Eagles in week 6, those 2 combined, it was only Theo had 2 catches for 20-something yards. Bellinger was held without a catch. The Eagles are one of the best teams against the tight end this year.
Hold on. What you're missing there is that they succeeded with their blocking and their protection schemes.
Oh, no, for sure.
And Scadaboo ran for 98 in part because those tight ends helped block.
Just since the original question was about Gunnar, I was just talking about as pass catchers.
But this is not just a wide receiver question.
They obviously do more than just catch passes.
Yeah.
They're crucial to the run game.
It's a schematic question more than it is a wide receiver personnel question, to be honest.
Fair.
I understand all that. I don't know. For me, it's an extra weapon to kind of throw off the defense on, okay, why is Gunnar in here? And another thing, and I'll cut it short here, guys. Another thing I hope I do not see Sunday is a 3-man rush if they're down by a field goal. I do not want to see that. And the Giants have a very talented defense. Their defensive backs, questionable. But I really hope I don't see an 8-man drop when they're down a field goal. I've never agreed with that. Don't give the team any yardage. Sure, you're taking the chance that if you If you blitz, they can throw over the top, but that'll still leave you time on the clock. I pray to God I don't see a three-man rush again. Hey, thanks, guys, Paul.
Thank you, TJ.
I appreciate you guys taking my phone call.
Anytime. Please
Thank
call
you,
again.
TJ. So, just to put a cap on the Gunner situation, the Gunner question, I'll just say this: like as you mentioned, he showed us during training camp, and during the preseason, he can line up at receiver and he can catch passes
Outside, too.
The only thing I would say is this is his 7th season in the NFL. He's never had more than 5 receptions in a season. So it's not like it's just, the Giants being like, I don't know if he's, good for an extended role as a receiver. The Patriots for 3 seasons felt the same way. The Steelers for a couple of seasons didn't really try him much out there. So he just hasn't done much as a receiver through his entire NFL career. That's not saying he can't. But clearly there's a reason why all these teams are not relying on him as, not even going to say a full-time receiver, but even more of what, we have seen from him as a wide receiver.
I think this is the first time in his career he's been a full-time punt and kickoff returner.
Well, last year.
Doing both.
Oh, kick and
both.
Yeah.
Both.
I think so, too.
He's usually been just one.
He did not do both last year.
No, he's usually been just one.
Yeah.
This year, and I don't think the Patriots used him as a kickoff returner. I think he was a punt returner for them. And this year he's been doing full-time both. He's dabbled in it, but I don't think it's ever been his full-time job.
So the 2020 season when he was first team All-Pro,
right?
He did return both. He
returned the whole full-time?
Well, he says he had 20 punts, led the league with 346 punt return yards.
Right.
And 18 kickoffs. And the following year, again, 18 kickoffs, 26 punt returns.
18, that's probably part-time.
Yeah,
I don't think that's full-time.
That probably is not a full-time.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Returner.
But he has been here this year. He's full-time.
Yes.
So 100%. I don't know if that has anything to do with it either. But it's certainly interesting that they decided to give him a full-time job on both units.
And especially, I'm glad you brought up this year, because especially this year with how significant now kick returns are, how much more significant they are. Teams are treating that like, not that it's always been treated as its own position, kick returner, but it has so much more added importance this year with the new kickoff rules that's a good point. That probably is why they don't want to risk putting him out at wide receiver, because he is pretty crucial to the return game.
He's a very smart return man.
Yeah.
He knows exactly how to play the ball, where to go, what to do with it. And by the way, man, is he tough.
Oh, yeah.
This guy would chew nails for breakfast.
One of the toughest guys on the team.
There's no doubt.
May not look at just from looking at him, on game day in his jersey.
He really is.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Jessica in Connecticut, you're next on the show. Hello, Jessica. How are you?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Matt. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to comment on Sunday's game. I was licking my wounds on Monday. I was so upset, but then the more I thought about it, I want to bring some optimism to it. I think that we are playing exceptionally well. I did not expect for Dart to get as many points as we did against Broncos defense. I don't know what happened, but from a nursing perspective, the altitude can definitely get to you and make you feel taxed. So I don't know if that's what happened. No one knows, but, I feel like Dart, my observation is that he really takes his mistakes that he makes and tries to learn from them and better himself. So I just feel I had no expectations really going into this season. I just really wanted us to be competitive, and I do see that. And I'm just feeling, that we could compete against any team now. And my two favorites that I would love for the Giants to smoke are the Cowboys and the Eagles.
Okay.
Can't argue with you there.
I was just going to say,
I agree.
Don't you want to throw Washington into the mix just for the heck of it?
Well, them too. But, even this game on Sunday, I want to see if the Cowboys can hold the Broncos to, scoring like we did. The Cowboys fans love to say stuff about the Giants. And, we were running the show for that game. So I'll be curious. I hope they lose.
Jessica, it always pays to scoreboard watch. I tell my dad all the time, from week one, right from the get-go of the season, I scoreboard watch. And I look and I say, okay, well, it's not only the teams in your division, but every team in your conference. If they're playing an interconference game, you want them to lose. You want the AFC team to win every time they play an NFC club, because you never know if your club could possibly be involved in a wild card tiebreaker. So stick every NFC team with a loss every single Sunday if you can.
And just about this matchup, the Broncos-Cowboys matchup in particular, the Giants defense, say what you want about it, hasn't been, amazing all year by any means, but the Cowboys defense has been awful all year. They have been bad. They are among the worst defenses in the NFL. I think the Denver offense will have a lot more success early on against the Cowboys than they had against the Giants. So I don't think that the Cowboys could end up winning this game. I'm not saying that's not possible, but I don't think it's going to be, a tight, low-scoring game. Like, the Cowboys are going to score a lot of points, but they're also going to give up a lot of points. That is going to be, what the final score last week was 33-32. Could be a similar score to that, if not even more points in that game.
Oh, yeah. I'm hoping that I could say, well, you know what? At least the Giants ran the show, and it was 19-0 till the fourth quarter. So what do you guys have to say about that? But the team I am worried about, I watched the Detroit game on Monday night. I feel like they're going to be a tough defense.
Well, look, we understand that if the Giants play up to their capabilities as well as they can play, they played 7 straight quarters of terrific football. When you look at the 4 against Philadelphia and then the first 3 against Denver, that 7-quarter stretch, that's the potential. That's what we thought we saw during training camp and during the offseason, that would be the real New York Giants. And that team should be hovering around 500 for sure, realistically, the whole season. But that's not what the Giants have done. They've gone on the field and they've looked like the real Giants at some points, and then at other points, they have just absolutely fallen apart. And so all I can say to you, Jessica, is if the real Giants come to play, the Giants that we know and believe they are, they can be competitive with every team on their schedule. They can be.
I believe that.
Yeah, and
we don't even have Malik Neighbors.
I know.
We don't even.
I know.
No, that's true.
Imagine if we did.
You pointed out the Lions matchup, which is obviously, about a month away, but the Giants have a decent amount of tough defenses coming up. The Eagles this week, they obviously were not that great in week 6, but as we mentioned before, Jalen Carter's back. Quinyon Mitchell will be in this game. And unfortunately, a familiar face in Brandon Graham has decided to unretire, of course, for this week.
Why not?
To come back just
of
for
course
this
he will.
Giants
of course.
game.
Are you kidding
So
me?
I expect
He better not be cleared to play.
He's been full in practice all week.
I hear
I'd
he will
be
be.
shocked if he's not
I hear
out
he will
there.
be.
So I think the Eagles will put out a better defensive performance. Now, that doesn't mean the Giants won't still be able to score points. I think the Giants will be able to drive on them and score points, but I do expect the Eagles defense to perform better next week. And then next week, you have the 49ers with Robert Saleh having that 49ers defense looking like the 49ers defense of a few years ago, and that's without Bosa and Fred Warner. The Bears defense does not concern me too much, but the Packers defense, not perfect, but that defensive front, Micah Parsons, we obviously have plenty of familiarity with him.
Oh, yeah.
Then the Detroit game. Then the week after that is the Monday night game against the Patriots, where the Patriots defense, far from perfect, but they have probably the best run defense in the NFL right now. So
they look good, the Patriots.
So that is just a very tough. Yeah. We knew this going into the year. Our schedule was very tough, but just on the defensive side of the ball, those are some tough matchups to come up. Obviously, you don't want to look ahead. The focus is on this week, but we're gonna find out. Obviously, the early results have been very good for Jackson Dart, but he's going to have a tough stretch to really show what he can do. But to what you said, Paul, I think that, again, not to soften the blow from last week at all, but one of the things that I really picked up after last week's game is that there are very few teams with the way that the Giants are playing with Jackson Dart under center. There are very, very few teams out there where going into the game, it's going to feel like the Giants have no chance at winning. Because right now, Jackson Dart has the offense playing like one of the best offenses in the NFL, which they have been since he took over, which has, revitalized the defense, given the defense a boost. So I don't know if there's any team in the NFL where going into the game, anyone's going to be able to say the Giants have no chance at winning this game, which we've heard that plenty the last couple of years.
Jessica, thanks for the phone call. Please call again.
Great day, guys.
You too.
Thank you, Jessica.
I think it bears notation here that both Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka were very accurate in making sure they threw some plaudits out to the offensive line.
Oh, yeah.
Which has clearly improved as the season has gone on, and Andrew Thomas got back into the lineup. No coincidence, folks. No coincidence at all. John Michael Schmitz has actually played better this year and more consistently as well, and now he's back off concussion protocol and expected to start against Philadelphia. Folks, I'm just going to tell you, my magic word is happening. The offensive line is functional again.
Yeah, and Jackson Dart has played obviously a very big role in that. The offensive line has helped Jackson Dart, but Jackson Dart has also helped the offensive line. Having a mobile quarterback that is able to really move around the pocket, to scramble outside the pocket and make plays, that helps ease the burden a little bit of the offensive line. They know they don't have to, win every block for 5+ seconds, which kind of felt like was the case in the early part of the season. Jackson Dart opened things up for everyone.
The yards after contact by Cam Scadaboo have helped as well.
Again, having improvement at quarterback has helped everything. And it's not, I'm not saying that Jackson is the reason the offensive line has been better. It's mutually beneficial. They've both been helping each other significantly.
The spider web, Matt. The spider web.
And that has led to Scadaboo's, positive results. Has led to the passing game looking great, which, as Jessica reminded us, without Malik Neighbors, without Darius Slayton the last couple of weeks. So just overall, obviously, the offense is gelling right now. And that's what we love to see. Let's hopefully keep it going. 2
YouTube comments, and then I got another phone call I want to get to before the program is over. Is it Wild Bill NYG says, hey, what's the most important matchup to keep an eye on for this game? I would think there are certainly several, but for me, if John Michael Schmitz coming out of the concussion protocol can play as well as we've seen him play in the last few games, he's going to need to do that to at least contain the impact of Jalen Carter. Because Carter impacts your running game and he impacts your quarterback. So he's got 2 ways that he can hurt you, much like Dexter Lawrence. He's right up there among the top defensive tackles, is Carter in the league. So I'm going to say, if you wanted one-on-one matchup that the Giants would really love to win, or at least draw, JMS for me against Jalen Carter, because that has an impact on both Scadaboo and Tracy and Singletary, and also on Jackson Dart.
Yeah, that was the one-on-one matchup I was going to mention as well. So I agree with you there. If we're not necessarily talking just one-on-one, I would say the run defense versus the Eagles' run game would be the biggest, aspect of the game matchup to keep an eye on. Now, the run game has been better overall. Last week took a little bit of a step back compared to the 2 weeks prior. Against the first game against the Eagles, the game against the Saints, the Giants' run defense was so much better than the first month of the season. J.K. Dobbins had some success last week. Bo Nix obviously had some success on the ground last week. But despite that, one thing is, so obviously the Giants will be facing Saquon Barkley. We know this. Saquon having a down year, among the worst seasons of his career. He's still a lethal threat. That is not someone that can be overlooked just because his numbers are not quite good up to this point. One thing I saw on NGS that something I think it will definitely need to keep an eye on is Saquon Barkley has averaged 4.2 yards per carry on runs to the outside this year. And that is a big drop from where he was last year. Last year he was at 6.6 on the outside runs, 4.2 this year. But in week 6, he had 5 carries for 43 yards when running outside against the Giants. That is an average of just over 8.5 yards per carry. Overall, on the season, the Giants have been very bad at defending runs to the outside. They have allowed the highest success rate of any defense in the last decade with runs on the outside. And if I was able to find this out and talk about it, you better believe the Eagles are well aware of this and will probably look to take advantage of that. So the overall run defense, and Deonte Banks and Dane Belton, if they're playing for Holland and Adebo in the secondary, that's the two of them are gonna need to step up in the run game.
Mm-hmm.
One of the callers said before there was a play where Banks took a bad angle last week and allowed a big gain. We can't have that this week because Saquon is going to be able to take advantage of that, and he will take advantage of that. You better believe, especially after being limited in production the last time against the Giants, you better believe he's going to want to come out and, have his quote-unquote revenge game, even though he may not admit that. But this game obviously has added importance for him.
Well, I think Cam Scadaboo, who outdid Barkley the last time, would love to do it again. And the Eagles are last in the NFL in rush defense on runs directly up the middle. 41 attempts for over 6 yards a carry. Now, Carter missed 2 games, so that's part of it. But if the Giants are able to pulverize the interior of the Eagles' rush defense with Scadaboo, that actually could even be as important as whatever Barkley may try to do to the outside.
I agree.
Folks, Scott Young from YouTube chimes in, says, I'm confident in Cordell Flott. He's been greatly improved. There is absolutely no question about that. And Fabian from Manhattan is on the line, and we'll sneak you in here as the last caller on the show. Hello.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, so you guys kind of glanced over one of the points I want to talk about with the tight ends. Paul, back when Russ was starting, I commented on your live. I said I want to see all the tight ends on the field at once.
Mm-hmm.
And you agreed with me, and I think at the time that we only had 3 on the active roster. I may be wrong. But I love what I'm seeing from Bellinger. And no one really talks about that pass he dropped in the end zone. I think that would have been amazing if he would have came up with that. It would have been a whole different conversation. But I love what I'm seeing from that standpoint.
Yeah, I've always been in favor, again, depending upon the matchup. I don't think you do it all the time every week. But depending upon the matchup, I like going with the heavy personnel package. A lot of double tight ends. And on occasion, depending upon the situation in the game, I don't mind going heavy with the 3 tight ends or even an extra lineman as the 3rd tight end. I'm a bully ball kind of guy. That's just old school. And I do think that we have found over the last couple of years of the NFL, the more successful teams that are making the playoffs are teams that can run more power run game and can be more physical and be more forceful and aggressive and nasty along the line of scrimmage. And that's what usually happens when you go to a heavy formation.
100%. I mean, again, I know we discussed this a few minutes ago, but the tight ends are really going to have a big impact in the run game for sure. They have the last couple of weeks. It's led to Scadaboo's, improved production. And I was starting to say this before and got cut off, but the Eagles have been tremendous at stopping tight ends in the passing game. Tight ends have not been able to basically catch anything. True. The Eagles are 3rd in the league. Only 2 through 7 games, they've allowed a total of 220 receiving yards to the tight ends this year. That's the 3rd lowest in the league. They've only allowed 28 receptions, 1 touchdown. I do think Theo and Bellinger can still have a big impact in this game, and it would be in the run game, the overall blocking, pass protection. I just don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know how much they'll be able to add in the passing game itself in terms of catching passes.
In this matchup, that's fair.
In this matchup alone.
Understood.
Obviously, we've seen the last couple of weeks what they could do in other matchups, but just in this matchup, it might be up to the receivers and to just Jackson Dart to make plays himself in order to move the ball through the air against this team.
Folks, we got to get to the locker room. Practice just ended, so we are going to depart. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. And as always, we have come to you from the Giants Podcast Studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Sunday in Philadelphia, 1 o'clock kickoff, Giants and Eagles. Don't forget the WFAN pregame show starts at 11 a.m. p.m. The post-game show follows, and also post-game live on MSG. As soon as the game is over, you can flip it over on your TV dial to MSG, and we'll have all the live coverage for you there.
And Giants.com.
And Giants.com as well. That's right. Hopefully all the mechanisms will be working correctly.
Well, last week was an MSG problem, not a Giants.com problem.
That is true.
Just putting that out.
I just said all the mechanisms. That includes everybody. For Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We'll see you next time.